You know that feeling when you wake up and realize your life is just basic? That's been me every morning for the past 3 years. I'm Kenzie 31, and I swear I used to be fun before I got married. Now I'm just that lady who answers phones at Tri-State Insurance, comes home to the same frozen dinners, and watches whatever my husband Nathan picked on Netflix. Don't get me wrong, Nathan's a good guy. He shows up on time, pays his half of the bills, and doesn't leave the toilet seat up. But sometimes being with a good guy makes me want to scream into my pillow. I wasn't always like this. Before Nathan, I was with Dax for almost 4 years. Dax was different. The kind of different that makes you feel alive even when he's driving you crazy. He worked as a sales manager at a luxury car dealership and always had cash to burn. I never had to check my bank account before saying yes to anything when I was with him. With Nathan, it's all budgets and saving for a down payment on some cookie-cutter house I'm not even sure I want. Earth to Kenzie. Are you listening to me or what? Taylor waved her hand in front of my face at lunch today. We were sitting in the break room at Tri-State, and I must have zoned out again thinking about the difference between my past and present. Sorry, just thinking about what to make for dinner, I lied. I couldn't tell her I was daydreaming about the weekend. Dax surprised me with a trip to Vegas again. Nathan's idea of a surprise is picking up Chinese food without texting me first. The truth is, Dax ruined me. He ruined me for normal guys like Nathan, who come home smelling like honest work instead of expensive cologne. Guys who think a push notification for a bank deposit is enough of a gift. Guys who haven't been to enough fancy restaurants to know which fork to use first. Later that night, lying next to Nathan as he snored softly, I whispered what I'd been saying to my friends for months. Dax ruined me for normal men. It started as a joke when Nathan and I first got together. Something to explain away my adjustment period to a different kind of relationship. But lately, it didn't feel like a joke anymore. It felt like the truth. 2 weeks later, I was sitting at happy hour with Taylor and my other work friend, Jenna. 3 margaritas in, and I couldn't stop talking about Dax again. And then he surprised me with front-row concert tickets on a Tuesday night. A Tuesday. Nathan would never even consider staying out past 10 on a weeknight, I said, stirring my drink with more force than necessary. Kenzie, you know Nathan works early shifts. He's tired, Taylor reminded me. Dax worked early too. He just knew how to have fun regardless, I insisted. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a picture of Dax and me in his convertible. Look at this. We were living. When's the last time I really lived with Nathan? What my friends didn't understand was that Dax made me feel special. When we walked into a room, people noticed us. With Nathan, we just blend into the wall. Basic couple doing basic things. When I got home that night, Nathan was on the couch watching a baseball game. He smiled when I walked in, patting the spot next to him. Hey, beautiful. How was girls' night? I shrugged. Fine. Just the usual. You look nice, he said, noticing I'd worn my good jeans and the top I usually save for date nights. Can I just look nice without a reason? I heard the edge in my voice and saw the confusion on his face. What was really going on was that earlier that day, I'd finally done it. I'd texted Dax, just a casual, "Hey stranger, how've you been?" And he'd responded almost immediately, as if he'd been waiting for me all this time. The rush I got seeing his name on my screen was more excitement than I'd felt in months. Over the next few days, my texts with Dax became more frequent. I told myself it was innocent, just catching up with an old friend. I deleted the messages each night before Nathan could see them. Meanwhile, I started noticing everything wrong with Nathan. The way he chewed too loudly, how he always wore those same faded t-shirts, his predictable routine of shower, dinner, TV, bed. Our anniversary weekend should have been special. Nathan had been planning it for months. A cabin in the mountains, just the two of us. But as we drove up the winding road, all I could think about was the 5-star hotel Dax took me to for our first anniversary. Almost there, Nathan said excitedly. Wait until you see this place. It has a hot tub on the deck overlooking the valley. I responded, scrolling through my phone. Dax had texted me that morning. Remember that weekend in Miami? Never seen anyone look as good in a bikini as you did. I shouldn't have smiled at that, but I did. The cabin was nice. Rustic? clean, with that hot tub Nathan had promised. He'd even arranged for champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries to be waiting for us. But when I saw the bottle, I couldn't help myself. "This is the champagne we get for office parties," I said. Nathan's smile faltered. "I thought you liked it." "It's fine," I shrugged. "Dax knew this vineyard owner in Napa, used to get us bottles you can't even buy in stores." Nathan set the bottle down harder than necessary. "I'm sorry my champagne selection doesn't live up to Dax's standards." "I didn't mean it like that," I lied. "Yes, you did." He rubbed his face with his hands. "Kenzie, we need to talk about this Dax thing, it's getting out of hand." "What Dax thing?" I feigned ignorance. "You compare me to him constantly. Nothing measures up to your magical time with Dax. The same Dax who cheated on you repeatedly and left you heartbroken." "You don't understand," I said, feeling defensive. "Yes, he cheated. But everything else was amazing. The connection we had, the passion, you and I don't have that." The moment the words left my mouth, I knew I'd crossed a line. Nathan's face went completely blank. "So why did you marry me?" he asked quietly. "Because I love you," I said, but even I could hear how hollow it sounded. "I found your messages with Dax," he said quietly. My blood went cold. "What? How?" "You left your phone unlocked last night." "I wasn't snooping. A text came in while I was setting the alarm. I saw his name." I wish I could say that was my wake-up call. That I fell to my knees, begged Nathan's forgiveness, and we worked things out. But that's not what happened. "You don't understand," I said, snatching my phone back. "It's not what you think." "Enlighten me then." Nathan crossed his arms. "What does 'I miss the way things used to be' mean exactly?" "We're just friends catching up," I insisted. He reached out and... "Stop lying." Nathan rarely raised his voice, but he did now. I saw enough messages to know this wasn't innocent. I couldn't deny it, so I went on the offensive instead. "Maybe if you gave me what I needed, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere." As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew our marriage had shifted irreparably. Nathan's face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. "What you need? I've given you everything, Kenzie. Stability, honesty, commitment, all the things you said you wanted after Dax. But it was never enough, was it?" He grabbed his jacket. "I'm going for a walk." After he left, I called Dax. "Hey, beautiful." His voice was smooth as ever. "Aren't you on some romantic getaway?" "It's a disaster," I said, voice trembling. "Nathan found our messages." "That's unfortunate. What are you gonna do?" "Not what are we going to do, but what are you going to do?" Classic Dax, always making sure he had an escape route. "I don't know," I admitted. "He's so angry." "Maybe this is a sign," Dax suggested. "You've been unhappy for a while, right? Maybe it's time to remember what it feels like to really live." When Nathan returned, soaking wet and subdued, our anniversary weekend was cut short. We drove home in silence the next morning. Back at our apartment, Nathan packed a bag. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a few days. We both need some space to figure out what we want." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Part of me wanted to tell him to stay, to fight for us. But another part was already imagining the freedom of being single again. "For what it's worth," Nathan said at the door, "I really thought we had something special. Something real. Not perfect, but real." The week Nathan was gone was strange. At first, I enjoyed the freedom, ordering takeout whenever I wanted, watching my shows without compromise. But by day 3, the apartment felt too quiet. Still, when Saturday arrived, I spent extra time getting ready. New dress, hair blown out, full makeup. Dax and I were meeting for drinks. The bar he chose was exactly his style. Overpriced cocktails, dim lighting, and music just loud enough that you had to lean in close to talk. I spotted him immediately at a corner table, still unfairly handsome in his designer clothes. "Kenzie," he stood to hug me, holding on just a second too long. "You look incredible." We ordered drinks and fell into easy conversation. Dax had always been charming. It was part of what made him such an effective salesman and such a successful cheater. "So trouble in paradise?" he finally asked, referring to Nathan. I sighed. "He doesn't understand me like you did." Dax reached across the table to touch my hand. "No one ever understood you like I did, Kenzie. We had something special." 3 drinks in, we were sitting closer, laughing about old memories, his hand occasionally brushing mine. When he suggested we go back to his place, I hesitated, only briefly before agreeing. His apartment was everything I'd imagined: floor-to-ceiling windows with a city view, modern furniture, a fully stocked bar. Nothing like the modest apartment I shared with Nathan. When he leaned in to kiss me, I didn't stop him. For a moment, it was like traveling back in time, the familiar taste of him, the way his hands moved confidently to my waist, but something felt off. As his lips moved to my neck, I caught sight of my wedding ring, glinting in the dim light. The simple band Nathan had saved for months to buy. Wait, I pulled back. I can't. I'm still married. Dax's expression darkened slightly before smoothing back into understanding. Of course, I respect that. He moved away slightly. But from what you've told me, it sounds like that marriage is over anyway. Maybe, I admitted. But I need to end things properly before. I gestured between us. I get it, he nodded. But don't wait too long. I won't be single forever. The classic Dax ultimatum, always making me feel like I needed to act fast or lose my chance with him. I took an Uber home, my mind spinning. The apartment was dark and empty when I arrived. Nathan hadn't come back. I kicked off my heels and sat in the silent living room, torn between what I thought I wanted and what I knew was right. When Nathan arrived the next morning to pick up more clothes, I was still in my robe, nursing a hangover and a heavy conscience. I met with Dax last night, I blurted out. I hadn't planned to tell him, but the words escaped before I could stop them. Nathan paused, his back to me. I figured you might. Nothing happened, I added quickly. Well, he kissed me, but I stopped it. Nathan turned, his expression unreadable. Why are you telling me this? It was a fair question. Was I hoping for praise for not cheating, trying to hurt him, looking for a reaction to prove he still cared? I don't know, I admitted. I guess I'm trying to figure out what I want. And what is that, Kenzie? Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you want the excitement of being with someone like Dax without the consequences. You want the reliability of our marriage without the supposed boredom. 2 weeks passed. Nathan and I remained in limbo, not quite separated, not quite together. He was still staying at his brother's, but we talked occasionally, careful conversations about bills and mail. Meanwhile, Dax kept texting. Invitations for drinks, dinner, weekend getaways. I turned them all down, telling myself I needed time to sort things out with Nathan first. On a rainy Tuesday, I was scrolling through social media when a photo stopped me cold. Dax, his arm around a blonde woman I didn't recognize, both smiling at some rooftop bar. The caption, "Perfect night with the perfect woman." It was posted just 3 days after our night together. My fingers trembled as I clicked on his profile. More photos with the same woman going back weeks, including one from the very day he'd texted me about remembering Miami. He'd been with her the entire time he was pursuing me. Some things never change. Dax hadn't grown up at all. I called Taylor immediately. You won't believe this, I said, my voice shaking. Dax is seeing someone else. The whole time he was texting me, trying to get me to leave Nathan, he had a girlfriend. I hate to say it, but are you really surprised? Taylor asked gently. That night, I drove to Nathan's brother's place. My hands shook as I knocked on the door, but he answered, surprise crossing his face. Kenzie, is everything okay? Can we talk? I asked. Please? I saw Dax's social media, I started. He's been with someone else this whole time. Nathan's expression was unreadable. I'm sorry to hear that. No, I'm the one who's sorry, I said, tears welling up. I've been comparing you to this idealized version of Dax that never existed. The real Dax is exactly who he always was. A cheater who only wants what he can't have. Nathan agreed to come home, but we both knew things couldn't go back to how they were before. Too much had been said, too many lines crossed. We were starting over in a way, figuring out if we could build something new from the rubble of what I'd destroyed. For a while, things were better between Nathan and me. Not perfect, but better. We went to couples therapy. We had date nights. Slowly, carefully, we tried to rebuild what I'd broken. But the damage was deeper than either of us wanted to admit. Trust, once shattered, is nearly impossible to fully restore. Every time I went out with friends, I could see the question in Nathan's eyes. Was I really with Taylor and Jenna, or was I meeting someone else? 3 months after our reconciliation attempt, Nathan announced he'd been offered a promotion in Pittsburgh. 6 hours away. Are you going to take it? I asked, though I already knew the answer from his expression. I think I need to, he said quietly. For me. We both understood what he wasn't saying. This wasn't just about a job opportunity, it was about a fresh start, a clean break. I think we need to be honest with ourselves, he continued. We've been trying to save something that might not be salvageable. Because of what I did, I whispered. Partly, he acknowledged, but also because maybe we want different things. You've always said, I don't give you the excitement you crave. Maybe that's true. Maybe we're just not right for each other anymore. 2 weeks later, he was gone, and 2 weeks after that, he filed for divorce. 6 months after Nathan moved to Pittsburgh, our divorce was finalized. Just a signature on some papers, and 3 years of marriage was officially over. He took his clothes, his tools, and his old pickup truck. I kept the apartment, most of the furniture, and all of the regret. Taylor and Jenna tried to help me move on, taking me out, setting me up on blind dates, listening to me cry and rant and question everything. But nothing filled the emptiness I felt. I checked Nathan's social media occasionally, though I knew I shouldn't. He seemed to be doing well in Pittsburgh. New friends, new apartment, new life. Dax, on the other hand, was on his third relationship since our encounter, each woman younger and more photogenic than the last. Classic Dax. I couldn't believe I'd almost thrown away my marriage for someone so predictable in his unpredictability. On what would have been our 4th anniversary, I got drunk alone and sent Nathan a text. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy in Pittsburgh. You deserve it. I didn't expect a response, but one came the next morning. Thanks, Kenzie. I hope you find what you're looking for too. It was cordial, distant, final. No hint of reconciliation or lingering feelings. Just an ex-husband being polite to his ex-wife. It hurt more than if he'd ignored me completely. 2 years after my divorce, I still tell people Dax ruined me for other men sometimes, especially after a few drinks. But now it's with a self-deprecating eye roll, an acknowledgement of my own role in the story. I let my toxic ex become my standard for excitement, I'll explain, and then blamed him when healthier relationships felt boring. Taylor and Jenna always hype me up, assuring me that the right guy is still out there somewhere, that plenty of men would be lucky to have me. That I've learned and grown and won't make the same mistakes again. There's nothing wrong with being single, Jenna insists over margaritas. But don't give up on love completely. You deserve another chance. Maybe they're right. Maybe someday I'll meet someone new and find a healthier balance between excitement and stability. Someone who makes my heart race for the right reasons. Or maybe I won't. Maybe this is my story, the woman who had it all and threw it away for a fantasy, who learned her lesson too late, the cautionary tale, the one who ends up alone. Nathan's getting married again. Her name is Claire. She has kind eyes and a warm smile. They look happy in a simple, genuine way that makes my chest ache. Good for him, I say, surprised to find I mean it. He deserves to be happy. All I know for sure is that I can't keep blaming Dax for ruining me, or Nathan for being boring, or anyone else for the choices I made. My ex didn't ruin me for other men. I did that all by myself. And now I'm alone without a man, facing the consequences of my actions and trying to make peace with them. It's not the ending I would have chosen for myself. But maybe it's the one I needed to finally grow up.